Is it just me, or is every male character starting to sound like the same person? With the rise of BookTok and Bookstagram dominating online reading culture, it seems like male characters are all starting to have the same character traits, based on what the internet decides is trendy or attractive. While character tropes are not always bad, it can start to be a little bit annoying when every male character feels like the same exact person and they're all behaving in like these really flirtatious, silly, sexy ways that men do not behave. Because let's face it, these characters are basically the fantasy of the female writer who created them. So in this video, we're going to break down the top 7 cringy tropes that, in my opinion, are ruining male characters everywhere. And because I like to find a bright side to every criticism, we are going to look at how to subvert these cliches by taking a leaf from the book of the greatest romance author of all time, Jane Austen. With every book-talkified cliche, we're going to ask ourselves, what would Jane do? And find a healthy balance between making our fictional men realistic, but also undeniably dishy. I definitely needed tea for this, but I didn't have any tea. Welcome back if you're new here. I'm Abby and I help writers make their stories matter and make their author dreams come true. And if that's something you're on a mission to do, you're gonna want to subscribe to this channel. I post every single Wednesday and I would love to have you here in the community. All right, first cliche. First cliche that is ruining male characters. Brace yourself, you might not agree. Enemies to lovers. I really love enemies to lovers, okay? It's one of my favorite tropes, so I am not dissing it at all. But is it just me, or does it seem like all these romance books that are coming out now are enemies to lovers because that's like what's trendy and what's popular at the moment? And they're not really proper enemies to lovers because they don't get time to be proper enemies before they become lovers. It's like we're pretending it's enemies to lovers, but really it's like insta-love or insta-lust disguised by snarky banter and sarcastic insults.
No! God, please, no! No!
That doesn't count. That doesn't count. So what would Jane Austen do? Look no further than Pride and Prejudice. Establish an actually heated relationship between these two characters rooted in moral differences. Not just,
oh, that person's annoying, I don't like them. So I guess I would consider them my enemy now, even though I'm secretly in love with them.
Pride and Prejudice is a perfect example of enemies to lovers done right. They get off on the wrong foot because Darcy insults her at the ball.
But her sister Elizabeth is very agreeable.
Perfectly tolerable, I dare say. Not handsome enough to tempt me. So what do you recommend to encourage affection?
Dancing. Even if one's partner is barely tolerable.
Shots fired!
Fantastic snarky banter, yes, but it goes beyond that because they clash over their differences of beliefs. Both Lizzie and Darcy have very unwavering opinions about each other, both based on misbeliefs, and it takes a lot of time and character change for them to overcome that. It's a slow burn. That's what makes it so delicious. And that's why the almost kiss in the rain scene is even better than a real kiss scene.
You were the last man in the world I could ever be prevailed upon to marry.
Forgive me, madam, for taking up so much of your time.
Cliche number 2 that personally gets on my nerves so much, he smirked. I mentioned this already, I know, in my video on mistakes that writers make when writing male characters. Great companion to this video, by the way. But it bears repeating, because what is up with the epidemic of male characters smirking? I get that smirking can be cute, it can be mischievous, it can add a little bit of like flirtatious energy to an interaction between your two characters, but when it gets excessive to the point of like every other line. I recently read a very popular romantasy book where it was literally like every other line. He was smirking or grinning or his lips were twitching and quirking, and it was just so excessive. It was literally distracting. Or as this male reader said in this Reddit thread, we're not always smirking. We're much more likely to have just a dumb blank look on our face. Here's my theory. I think we have fallen into a trap of making fictional men just seduction machines. They're constantly smirking and throwing winks around like confetti and eye scanning the female protagonist up and down and acting all possessive because apparently this is what we think is hot. And yeah, okay, maybe saying he stood there with a dumb blank look on his face isn't going to exactly make our readers swoon, but I dare say we can find a happy medium. What would Jane Austen do? I think Jane Austen proved that male characters can be very attractive and seductive without being overtly seductive all the time. In fact, most of the time, her male characters that were like overtly seductive or charming ended up being the bad guy. The smirk isn't always cute and innocent. Small acts of kindness, featherlight touches, gift giving, acts of service, helping her out when she needs help, or standing up for her when somebody belittles her or treats her wrong. These are all very subtle, small ways that a fictional man can be very seductive and attractive without being overtly seductive, like winking and smirking all the time. Think Darcy helping Elizabeth into the carriage. Bonus points for the hand flex, or the sexy little stolen glances between Anne and Captain Wentworth in Persuasion, or how Edward sticks up for Eleanor when her witchy sister-in-law is trying to redecorate her library.
Libraries should be full of dusty old books and nooks and corners and places to hide away in. Do you know, Fanny, I do believe this library is quite perfect just as it is.
Obviously, Jane Austen knew how important it was for a man to appreciate a good library. Cliché number 3, the doorframe lean. Here's the situation. The girl is probably huffing and puffing and all angry at the guy for some like untoward thing he said or did, and meanwhile secretly inside she's melting like a birthday candle from the intensity of his sexual charisma. But she pretends that she hates him, and he somehow corners her in the doorway and just kind of leans there seductively, possessively. This trope is funny to me because there was this TikTok trend that went around a while ago where women who were like readers would get the guy in their life, their boyfriend or their husband, to do the doorframe lean to them. And the funny part is the guys like never really understood the assignment.
Lean over the doorframe like sexily.
How do I lean on a doorframe sexily?
I feel dumb already. What are we doing?
Body a little bit. Is it the right arm?
You gotta give it your best shot. I'm not there yet.
Men in real life usually do not lean on doorways like this. They lean, but more like this. I understand this is one of those weirdly specific fantasies that bookish women find very attractive and fangirl over, but can we retire this one, please? I think it's had its day. It had a good life. It now deserves a golf cart and an IRA. So what would Jane Austen do instead of the doorframe lean? I gotta hand it to Jane. She understood weirdly specific fantasies that were swoon-worthy but still undeniably masculine. Think Darcy jumping in the pond and emerging all muddled and dripping wet. Gotta love those sheer white Regency shirts. Ooh. Or Edward chopping wood in the rain. Again, clingy white Regency shirt. Colonel Brandon rescuing Marianne Dashwood from almost dying in a thunderstorm. Bonus points because he carries her all the way home and almost undresses her before realizing, what am I doing right now? These are just a few examples that prove Jane Austen knew how to make a man undeniably hot without making him lean in a doorway. And let's face it, if Darcy had just like leaned in the doorway to talk to Elizabeth, I don't think that would have done it for her. Next overused male character trope that has had its day. Who did this to you? This is another one of those possessive, protective, proprietorial things that fictional men say when they find a mysterious cut or bruise appear on their love interest's face. And I know I'm gonna take some heat for saying this, but it's overused. I understand why we like it. What girl wouldn't want some hot, broody male hero battling back homicidal feelings toward the person who did her harm? It's really sweet in a way. I'm all for men being protectors. It is good and healthy for a fictional man to want to protect his fictional love interest. Even if the woman is perfectly strong and capable of defending herself, she still deserves a good man who wants to protect her. But how can you show me that he wants to protect her without just going around growling, "Who did this to you?" all the time? Actions speak louder than words. So what is he actually gonna do when he finds this person who did this to her? What then? I feel like a lot of authors don't even get to that part. They just get to the part where it's like he's all angry and worked up over her being hurt, and she's like,
"Oh no, it's fine. It's nothing. I can take care of myself. Don't bother. What do you think, I'm not strong? You think I'm not a strong female character?"
and then just kind of descends into like a makeout session, and there's never any payoff. What would Jane Austen do? Remember that time in Sense and Sensibility where Willoughby broke Marianne's heart into little smithereens and Colonel Brandon stepped up and challenged him to a full-on duel? Yeah. Very hot. He didn't even need to ask who did it to her because he knew who did it to her, because he knew her so well, because he was pining over her from the sidelines for so long, wanting to be with her and still in love with her even though she was in love with somebody else. He never gave up on her. True love. Next cliche I'm tired of seeing is an excessive use of pet names. Darling, sweetheart, little fill in the blank. I understand why writers use this. I use this too sometimes. I love using nicknames because it creates instant intimacy. Even better if the nickname is a little bit of an affectionate insult that started back when they were enemies and now they're starting to be more like lovers, and now the insult is like a cute nickname that is spoken with the utmost reverence and love. However, this can become redundant when he uses the pet name on like every single page, to the point where he doesn't even call her by her real name. We've like forgotten at this point what her real name is because he's just obsessed with using this nickname. What would Jane Austen do? He'll probably use proper names like Miss Surname, because that was the culturally appropriate thing to do at the time. But hey, it's still hot. Propriety will always be attractive. Like, can we please bring that back? There's something surprisingly attractive about a guy calling a girl something that's really proper and respectful, rather than a borderline degrading nickname that makes her seem more trivial and insignificant. Even better if the girl gets to choose the nickname that she wants to be called.
What endearments am I allowed?
Well, let me think. Lizzie for every day, my Pearl for Sundays, and Goddess Divine, but only on very special occasions.
Cliche number 6, the bad boy who is soft only for her. This one requires a little nuance to address. I'm all for morally gray or even villainous characters having a soft spot for the person they love. However, why is it that it seems in today's world of fiction, like specifically romantasy for some reason, all of these bad boy characters aren't really that bad? Like, they seem bad on the surface. They stomp around in their black trench coats pretending to be this horrible, vicious monster, but as soon as the girl walks into the room, they're like a veritable cinnamon roll. Even worse if we switch over to his point of view and we realize that he's actually really soft and sweet and poetic on the inside, and he just makes everyone think that he's this bad person because I don't even know why. Pick a personality, please. Now, I'm not saying that bad boys can't have a soft spot for the female love interest. I think that can be done really well, but only with character consistency. If you're gonna write a bad boy character or a morally gray character or a villain who's in love with this girl and he has a soft spot for her, then let him be bad. Let him still be morally gray. He can still have a soft spot for the girl, but he shouldn't like just magically transform as soon as she walks in the room. That's not very believable. What would Jane Austen do? Let's face it, Jane Austen was a master at writing bad boy characters who seemed like they were good people. Think Wickham from Pride and Prejudice or Willoughby from Sense and Sensibility. They charm their way into the female protagonist's affections, but show their true colors as time goes on. And this feels super realistic because this is how most bad boys are in real life. They don't storm around glowering angrily with actual blood on their hands. They probably seem like really nice guys, very charming, always smirking at you, winking at you. leaning in the doorframe. And last but not least, cliché number 7, being predatorily protective of the girl. You know what I mean? The guy who is constantly being proprietorial over the girl and like micromanaging her movements and getting jealous over the smallest, most innocent interactions and telling her that she should do this or shouldn't do that, and basically just treating her more like property than a person. These male characters often justify their behavior as like,
I'm just trying to protect her. I'm just trying to keep her safe.
But actually this behavior can be kind of toxic. They growl threats at any man who looks in her direction, and they try to stop her from going certain places, react with irrational amounts of anger if she shows any form of independence. This is not romantic, okay? It's not cute. It is a red flag for emotional manipulation. So, what would Jane Austen do? Jane Austen's heroes are notorious for never being overly possessive or protective. They quietly look after her, but don't like inject themselves constantly into every situation. They let her have agency so that she can make her own decisions. In Pride and Prejudice, Mr. Darcy does this with Mr. Wickham. He sees that Elizabeth kind of likes him. He like tells her the truth about Wickham's real character, but he kind of just lets go. Takes a back seat to the whole situation and lets her make her own decisions. Colonel Brandon also does this with Willoughby in Sense and Sensibility. He sees that there's like something going on between Willoughby and Marianne, and he's like, I don't really like this. He kind of warns Willoughby off of her, like, don't break her heart.
What are my intentions? And what right have you to ask me?
I have her interest at heart.
Oh, you have you?
He's kind of quietly watching out for her from the sidelines, but he doesn't like rush in and try to kill Willoughby as soon as he sees that there's something going on between him and Marianne. It takes a long time before the duel actually takes place, and that's like a lot of buildup to that moment, which makes it feel so earned. Same with Captain Wentworth and Anne in Persuasion. There's this ongoing situation with Anne's cousin who wants to marry her, and she doesn't really want to marry him, but it would be like a marriage of convenience. And Captain Wentworth sees that, and he obviously doesn't like it. He's not a fan of it, but he kind of just backs away and lets her make her own decisions and have her own autonomy.
I am in receipt of your proposal, and am minded to accept it.
And this is part of the reason why Jane Austen's men are so attractive. Okay, boom. That's it. Rant over. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. These are just some of the things that I have noticed in fiction recently, that many male characters are starting to sound the same, and I feel like we can do better as authors. I feel like we don't have to follow the BookTok trends. We don't have to look to Bookstagram to see what's trendy and what readers are swooning over, because guess what? What they're swooning over today will be tomorrow, will be like,
that's so last year.
It'll become so overused that we won't even have unique men in fiction anymore.
Bruh.
So, I challenge you to find your own way to make your male characters unique and swoon-worthy and undeniably dishy. Maybe some of the inspiration might come from your favorite authors, and you can use that as sort of brainstorm fodder to make your male characters more unique and lovable. Comment below and join the discussion. I would love to hear what is one cliche, trait, or trope that you've seen a lot in fiction or on BookTok or Bookstagram that personally drives you crazy. I'd love to hear about it. So comment that below, and while you're down there, smash that like button if you liked this video. Make sure you subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, because I post writing videos every Wednesday, and I would love to have you here in the community. And if you're having trouble writing a male character that feels believable and realistic, I invite you to check out this video where I go over the top cliche mistakes that writers make when writing male characters that often makes it seem like a woman wrote this. And if you want to avoid those glaring mistakes, then definitely check out that video. So I will see you over there. Until next time, happy writing and rock on. Shh.